All right, kia ora everybody. Welcome to this first episode of Point of View. This is a new podcast where we talking about film, talking about what's coming up in the cinemas and on streaming, as well as talking about what's going on out there in the world of film. My name is Tom Augustine. I'm a filmmaker and a critic. I am very happy to be here with Luke. Can you introduce yourself, my friend?
Yeah. My name's Luke Murray, and I'm the sales manager for Madman New Zealand.
So we're going to have a new guest every month on this podcast from the world of film. We're super happy to have Luke here. Madman is obviously one of the major distributors of independent, cool cinema in New Zealand. We're very, very happy to have you here. Thank you very much for being our first guest. So we will start by talking about what is coming up in the cinema in New Zealand in September. So we're recording this mid-August, and we have a little bit of kind of seeing the lay of the land coming up in the next month. Mm-hmm. And so we will start by talking about a film that has a sequel now called Beetlejuice. I'm not... Listen, I love the first Beetlejuice. I'm a big fan of that one. I'm not a huge fan of Tim Burton.
He's patchy.
He's patchy. His style has never been my kind of cup of tea, I suppose. But he will be releasing this new film, Beetlejuice, which is obviously a sequel to the major mega hit from the 80s. 80s? Yeah. And it's a film that reunites a whole lot of the stars from the original. So we've got Michael Keaton in there, obviously. We've got Winona Ryder, and a whole bunch of new people as well. The trailers surprisingly look pretty strong.
I've got to say that until I saw that trailer, I was pretty depressed about the whole idea of it.
I was really switched off, but
but the trailer is very good.
Yeah, and it looks like it does have this kind of fealty to the original style. There's a lot of practical effects.
Which, that's exactly what you want.
Yeah, and I've been reading about what Michael Keaton has been saying, which is that he was very adamant that he wouldn't be in the film too much. But I think people forget, kind of like with something like Hannibal Lecter and the Silence of the Lambs, that Beetlejuice isn't actually in the film a huge amount of time.
Not
in the
a lot,
original.
no.
So the fact that he pushed to have only limited appearance in the film, I feel like it bodes well. Yeah,
I think so. Just everything about this feels good.
Yeah. And I imagine it's probably going to make a butt ton of money as well.
Well, yeah. I'm certainly going to go.
Yeah, me too.
Pretty much everyone my age is going to go, because they were like kids when they came out.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of keys into that nostalgia thing, but maybe in a way that's a little bit doesn't seem so much like a cash grab. It did at first.
Yeah.
But now that I'm watching it, it feels maybe a little bit.
It kind of feels like a minor version of that Top Gun sequel.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is, and I think you could probably say the same for Twisters that was earlier this year.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess they're finding, as much as I hate the term, they're finding IP that they can reinvest in, but in a way that maybe feels like it at least it's not overdone. It's not oversaturated.
Yeah, the Twisters thing was interesting because Twister didn't really... I don't remember that being like a gigantic film.
No.
Maybe it was. I don't remember it being so.
No, I was sort of talking about this the other day. I feel like they... there's this general idea at the moment that everything that comes out with a major budget has to have some sort of reliable past reverence, and we're running out of titles, right? But there are a few things like Top Gun, like Twister, where there's enough of a, I remember that, I feel good about it, that they're willing to go back and try it again. It's just about finding those ones, I guess. And Twisters, it wasn't an incredible film, but it was enjoyable.
It was serviceable, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of people in the US who get to go and watch it through 40x and get pummeled and rained on and that kind of thing.
We don't have a lot of that here, unfortunately.
No. Another film we've got coming up in September is Speak No Evil, which is an adaptation of the film from Scandinavia, some place in Scandinavia. I'm not entirely sure of the location.
Oh my god, I can't remember.
I'm going to look that up. It is a film that was made, it's a Danish film. And this new remake is an American reapproach, I guess. And it's a film that's... The original is a horror film about the lengths that people will go not to upset other people, I suppose. It's got this family who kind of interact with another family and have this kind of nice kind of connection. Then they go and visit them, and slowly but surely they start to realize that all is not right in this family, but they don't want to appear rude or anything like that, and the lengths of that lead to some very horrible results. This version has James McAvoy in the lead, who is one of our most intriguing actors of his generation, I think, because he's never really gone in the direction that I've expected him to go in.
No.
You know, this is a guy who became something of a major star after appearing as Mr. Tumnus in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of good stuff.
He has done a lot of good stuff. I mean, he's very good in Atonement. He's very good in a whole range of British cinema from 2010s and so on.
Yeah.
I remember there was a moment where he was kind of being touted as a new action hero. He was in Wanted. But more recently, I think especially since Split and Glass came out, he's kind of re-emerged as as kind of like a dark, villainous character actor.
I mean,
who can push himself to kind of unsettling lengths, right?
well, yeah, and looking at this, I mean, Scoot McNairy's in it, and he's another one that's like, he could, like, I don't know why he's not a lead.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great, consistent character actor in a sense.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a really solid cast. I mean, I can't say that I'm hugely excited about the prospect of taking a film that is already well regarded but has subtitles and then reinterpreting
from like a couple of years ago too. It's
exactly.
Like, why are we doing this all the
time? And reinterpreting it in a way that, I mean, when it becomes Americanized so often, it loses so much of its edge.
There are very few films that you can say that are remade from Scandinavian films that actually are improvements.
Yeah, exactly. Or any other place, really.
Yeah,
I mean, you could probably make a case for something like The Departed and Infernal Affairs.
Well, that's a big... I mean, I think it's a big downgrade. As far as
you think it's a big downgrade?
I do.
Okay, yeah. All right. We can discuss this offline.
I mean, you know, it's just the overt use of the rats at the end.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
It's bad.
Okay, so we've got Speak No Evil, and then we have a trio of children's films that are releasing towards the end of the year, and they all are kind of coming out at the same time. It's a little bit puzzling, but we've got The Wild Robot, which is an adaptation of a really lovely children's book. We have Harold and the Purple Crayon, which has been an enormous flop in the US, and we have Transformers 1, which is an animated Transformers movie, which is actually kind of refreshing, I suppose.
It's an interesting one. I mean, I do remember really liking the 80s Transformers.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of harkening back to that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Transformers films in general, the Transformers stable has kind of lost a little bit of its cultural relevance in recent years. I mean, the one that came out last year, I think, landed with a thud. I mean, it didn't really. It was not especially.
I mean, like an animated Transform, and kind of like in the same way that I just kind of feel that animated Lord of the Rings film later in the year. They just kind of feel like they should be going straight to streamers.
Yeah, I know. That one's called The War of the Rohirrim, and I think it focuses on like a small kind of subplot or like a piece of history from Middle Earth lore.
Which sounds interesting.
It does sound interesting, but I can't foresee. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
I do think it's intriguing that they're approaching it in the style of anime as opposed to like traditional Western animation.
I know. It's very
That's
strange.
Strange, but kind of cool. I guess we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think the wild robot actually looks quite promising. The story itself is very popular. It's about a robot who wakes up in the woods all by itself and kind of doesn't know how it got there and what its purpose was, and slowly starts to find that. It looks, I mean, from the look of the trailer and that kind of thing, it almost gave me the feeling of something like Where the Wild Things Are or something like that.
Yeah.
A little bit more offbeat, a little bit more less like high color, high saturation, high sugar content for younger viewers. So I think if I was to make a call on which one to watch,
Well, it'd be that one for sure.
it would be that one. It certainly wouldn't be Harold and the Purple Crayon with God's loneliest superhero, Zachary Levi.
Yeah, Zach can get in the bin.
Yeah, we're not so keen on that one. So there's lots of really, really great stuff coming up this month. But I think the one that I am most excited for is Megalopolis, which we will talk about after we look at the trailer for the film. Okay, so we're going to start this segment is talking about different trailers that have been releasing this month. We're going to be talking about Megalopolis first. Now, Megalopolis is the new film from Francis Ford Coppola. It is being released by Madman, so we're very happy to have you here to talk about this, Luke.
Yep, happy to be here.
Megalopolis is the new film from Francis Ford Coppola, obviously of The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, Bram Stoker's Dracula, The Conversation, the list goes on. It has been the source of a lot of buzz, a lot of controversy, a lot of divisive opinion. It is almost entirely self-financed by Francis Ford, which is, kind of admirable in its own sense. I mean, he kind of bet this huge amount from his winery fortune to make this film.
He's rather well off.
Yes. So it's a bit of a big gamble, but it's actually kind of something that we don't really see these days in cinema, and I'm quite excited to see.
No, it seems like there's a run of these too. I mean, we've had like two of them. Like we had the Costner Horizon.
Yes, and I loved Horizon. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see the second part if it ever comes out.
Well, I'm hoping it does.
Fingers crossed. But no, I mean, it's I'm fully in support of anything that features a character named Wow Platinum, played by Aubrey Plaza.
I mean, it's a weird idea. I mean, even the idea of them having to have an actor come in the middle to like ask Adam Driver a question in the cinema.
For those who don't know, there is a moment that has been widely reported from the Cannes screening where Adam Driver is speaking on screen, and then an actor appears in the cinema, a live action actor, to ask him questions. I'm not sure.
It's one question. But they kind of do want us to do that.
Okay.
At the screenings.
I would love that. I think that's great.
Well, I mean, actors are certainly keen.
Yeah.
We've had a few people asking.
Fantastic. And I feel like there's, another element is that they want to shoot it in. They want it to be played exclusively in IMAX. Is that correct?
Not exclusively, but we do have IMAX prints, yeah.
Oh, yes, I can't wait. Okay, let's watch this trailer now. This trailer has caused a lot of controversy in the moments it has dropped today, and it is already causing controversy. Let's watch it, and then let's discuss.
When does an empire die? Does it collapse in one terrible moment? No. But there comes a time when its people no longer believe in it.
Don't let the now destroy the forever.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and children of all ages, welcome. Is this society, is this way we're living, the only one that's available to us? We are taking our city back. And when we ask these questions, when there's a dialogue about them, that basically is a utopia.
Well, there you go. I mean, it is a very powerful, really well put together trailer, except for the fact, which has just kind of emerged, that it seems like a lot of the quotes from the critics who are featured at the front of the trailer don't appear to be real.
It's bizarre. Like,
Truly
'cause
bizarre.
There are no. When I saw it, I honestly thought they would have been, because they seem like things those critics would say.
It tracks. I mean, it just boggles the mind. Does it? Do they think no one would check? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe maybe they just think it's really funny.
I mean, maybe there's a sort of comedic intention there. I mean,
I think
that
so,
is
yeah.
potential. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I kind of think it is actually funny that
It
these
is
are like false quotes.
It makes it funnier in a sense, absolutely. But I'm sure it's going to generate a whole lot of controversy. A lot of people are speculating that maybe it was they would have put into, say, a chat GPT or an AI model, tell us a negative quote about The Godfather from Pauline Kael or Andrew Sarris.
Yeah.
And this is what would have been turned back without the appropriate fact-checking going in. Whether or not that's true, I mean, the people in the future listening to this will know, as opposed to us who are just experiencing this right now.
I mean, what, this dropped this morning?
This morning.
And people have already fact-checked it?
They have already
I mean, that seems unusual for this time.
Yeah, no. But, you know, aside from that, and it can't really fault to the film itself for whatever blowback this trailer has. The imagery in this looks really, really powerful. I mean, it has been hugely divisive.
It has.
It had a very mixed reception out of Cannes.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that is to be expected to a degree with Coppola, especially late period Coppola, who has made films that have their cult followings, but aren't necessarily as beloved as something like The Godfather.
I mean, yeah, I in the same way that we were talking about Burton before, you know, his later period has been a lot of hit and miss type stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think this being such a massive event film, there's no denying that it's going to be a film that you talk about. It's going to be a film that if you have any kind of investment in cinema in general, I can't see a reason not to go and see it.
Yeah.
It is this kind of massive event, no matter what you make of it, no matter if it's the worst thing that has ever been made. And I've had a few critics tell me that it's one of the worst things they've ever seen.
I've been told that too.
Yeah, but I mean, I will be there no matter what.
100%. And I'm going to go and see it in IMAX for sure.
Exactly. Now, the other trailer that we have is for a film that I have seen, and it is a film that I did not expect to love, but I 100% did. It is another film being released by Madman. It is called The Substance. Do you want to tell us a little bit about this film?
Sure. Oh my god, this film. This film is actually pretty wild. It's a film by Caroline Fagette, starring Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore and Dennis Quaid. It's a story of Demi Moore, who's an aging, kind of like jazzercised person.
Yeah.
Like she has a jazz show, like a workout show.
Like Jane Fonda in the 70s.
Yeah, or what was that film with John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis? You know, where the famous sort of like gif of like Jamie Lee Curtis thrusting.
Doing the thrusting, yeah, no.
Anyway, she's aging, and Dennis Quaid sort of wants to get rid of her, and she finds this company who purport to be able to like create a better version of yourself.
A very shadowy kind of back alley operation.
So anyway, she goes to try this out, gets this kit, injects herself with the substance, and a Margaret Qualley appears from her.
And we will dig into that. Let's watch the trailer first, and then we'll dig into that.
Have you ever dreamt of a better version of yourself? Younger, more beautiful, more perfect.
Pretty girls should always smile.
Just like the sheer amount of references, like it's like Coraline's like, hey, I like The Shining, I like Carrie, I like this film,
And they are all at play
in
this film, which is it's a big film. It's quite long. It has a great cast. It is body horror, which is not usually a genre which I respond to. I mean, I love something like The Fly or The Thing, but this is an extremely gross film in the best possible way.
It very much is.
There are bodily fluids, there's blood, there's bones breaking,
It's incredibly intense.
It's such a ride, and it's not like any other film you're going to see. It is this year. It is a film that is completely lacking in subtlety. There is no subtlety there
Zero.
at all. The Dennis Quaid character, but for example, who is a studio exec, his name is Harvey. There is there's a recurring kind of visual gag where the new show that Margaret Qualley's character gets cast in, which is just literally
just close-ups of her ass.
Just lewd, it's very unsubtle, but I think it's a great kind of metaphor for the entire film, that a billboard gets built in front of Demi Moore's house that has a picture of Margaret Qualley and literally just says new show coming soon. No details, no channel, just new show coming soon. And I think that really stands in for the whole film. So if you buy into that, you're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
I thought it was so well directed. Coralie Fagier is really just throwing everything at the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And it grows into this massive kind of Grand Guignol kind of bloody...
The ending is
wild body horror ending that is just absolutely
I mean,
bananas.
I haven't tracked all of the festival screenings, but I know that people were fainting in Wellington, and we had reports of people fainting in Auckland too.
Fantastic.
So it's I don't know, we should provide ambulances
Yeah,
at these screenings.
perhaps, but I couldn't recommend this movie enough. I mean, it completely won me over. It is a film that kind of outstays its welcome in a way that's actually kind of great.
Yeah.
It's a film that overdoes it in a way that's great. It's
the very, very end with the star.
Yes.
It's just
yes.
It's a kind of weirdly odd thing to do to end it, but kind of perfect.
Brilliant. Yeah, kind of brilliant. Which is kind of how I would describe a lot of this film. Yeah. Full recommend from me. Well worth going and seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And when does that release?
That is the 19th of September.
Fantastic. We're moving now into talking about the news in screen entertainment, both here in Aotearoa and beyond. We'll start kind of very wide. We'll talk about some of the issues that have been kind of talked about in the film community in recent times. One that has been really interesting to me has been around the release of Alien Romulus, which is a film that's, I guess you could describe it as a kind of spin-off sequel slash prequel to all the films that are kind of at play in that Alien franchise. It's directed by Fede Alvarez, who made...
It kind of seems to be in the middle of Alien and Aliens, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it takes place between those 2 points. None of the same characters except for one, which I'll talk about in a minute.
That's right. Yes,
Yeah.
okay, I know what you're doing.
It is directed by Fede Alvarez. It is who made those extremely gory Evil Dead remakes. He is a very talented director of thrillers and growing tension. He has made a film here that is kind of, I've seen described in a lot of places as a bit of a greatest hits of the Alien and Prometheus and Covenant franchise. It doesn't do a lot for it to change the game or anything like that. But that said, it's an enormously fun film. It's a film that I had a great time watching. It's very involving, even if it doesn't necessarily push the boundaries or make you think too much.
It's a weird one. It starts off really well.
It does, yeah.
I mean, all of the stuff, where it's not trying to retread, I think is great.
And a very strong cast. Kaylee Spaney and who plays the android in this.
I mean, she was in Priscilla early in the year. She's really good.
She's fantastic. And David Johnson, who plays her android kind of adoptive brother, is really fantastic and creepy as well. Overall, it's a solid film. It's not one that's going to change the game, but it's enjoyable. It's had a lot of success at the box office. But there has been a bit of a sting in the tail, which has been that within the film, there is a sequence where they find an android on the Romulus ship. They reanimate it, and they spend some time kind of hiding the face of this person. But if you hear the voice and you know the actor, you know immediately. And then they finally reveal it, and it's a model of the Ash android played by Ian Holm in the original Alien. And what they've done is they've created a kind of AI deepfake version of Ian Holm and plastered it on the face of an actor and recreated his voice in a method that I've seen described online as digital taxidermy.
That's actually really good.
It is basically that, and it feels very ethically dubious to me.
It's very ethically
Especially because Ian Holm has been dead for 4 years, and great actor, wonderful actor, but it does, and apparently there has the credits thank the Ian Holm estate, so there must have been some sort of permission given, of course. But does that justify it? I mean, I don't see
is it really necessary?
I don't see a narrative justification for it at all. We already know that there are other androids that kind of have similar, we could have had, who look like humans, so we could have had any number of actors, and I'm sure any actor would have jumped at the chance to play this role. I kind of, it's just, once they get to the ship, it really does start turning into like a greatest hits. With some of the lines that they like repurpose lines
and some of them are just atrocious.
Like, get away from her, you bitch. Bad. That was pretty groan-worthy. But it just and also it feels like it's kind of against the kind of ethos of the film, which is this kind of very contained story. There's a lot of practical effects at play. Why they would choose to do this kind of ghoulish and not convincing in the slightest
I don't know.
deep fake thing, which is kind of similar to, if anyone's seen Rogue One, the recreation of the Grand Moff Tarkin Peter Cushing character.
That's bad too.
It's arguably worse, and he's a major character. The Ian Holm character in Alien Romulus is pretty major to the story.
I mean, pretty much for 3/4 of the film, right? It's
a bizarre one, and I think it kind of speaks to perhaps some of the more negative trends that we're seeing in these these major kind of Hollywood films that are being put up, this urge to kind of indulge in these AI kind of shortcuts and nostalgia baiting, and trying to recall in the same way as those terrible reuses of lines in the film, trying to the purpose is just to make someone say, "Hey, I remember that character. Hey, I remember that line."
I mean, surely, Fede Alvarez is seeing these comments online.
Totally.
I mean,
I don't understand.
I don't know why filmmakers would continue to do this type of thing.
It doesn't make a huge amount of sense. There's been so much negative backlash to it that all I can really surmise is that it's something that has been pushed by studios that have put a big amount of investment into this kind of technology.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. It's an absolute shame, because otherwise this film is very
film
enjoyable.
could have really been something.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole start on the mining colony
really promising
was
stuff.
amazing.
And the cast is very, very strong, and some of the effects are really great. It does have this third act kind of twist. It's a mess, but at least it's a swing for the fences.
I guess.
I mean, it's completely bananas, but it's really enjoyable at the same time. But it is completely messy.
I mean, even some of the stuff where Kaylee Spenny's like in her underwear basically, and then she gets into a spacesuit, and it's kind of like a complete
throwback to Sigourney Weaver. Yeah, totally. Whether this will lead to it, I mean, it's been a huge success. So whether this will lead to more Alien films that pick up this story and carry it forward, or if we'll finally see the third part in the Ridley Scott Prometheus trilogy, unlikely, I would imagine. We will see, I suppose.
I think like more Alien stories are fine.
Absolutely.
But I'd rather they were original.
Absolutely, and they're not using pretty ghoulish technology, I would say.
Yeah.
The next big story, I guess, of the past few weeks, we've lost two real giants of 60s, 70s cinema.
Yeah.
We've lost Gena Rowlands and Alain Delon, two actors who are quite different from each other, but both represent a kind of major moments in 20th century cinema. We've got Gena Rowlands, who is one of the great actresses. She is an incredible film actress. She started as kind of a Hollywood starlet, and then coming together with John Cassavetes, one of the great American filmmakers. The work that they produced together is still admired and studied to this day. People know her probably best. I mean, people probably know her best in general from her appearance in The Notebook, which is directed by...
I would hope not.
One would hope not, but I think I've seen enough news reportage saying star of The Notebook passes away to convince me otherwise. But that is actually directed by Nick Cassavetes, which is her son. But otherwise, she's probably best known for her work in A Woman Under the Influence, which is a masterpiece front to back, because of her performance, which is electric, and it is one of the most raw and lacking in ego kind of performances that you've ever seen. But there's a great number of places you can start with Gena Rowlands. I mean, we can recommend that you watch A Woman Under the Influence. Probably a good place to start.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is an exhausting film, but that's kind of the point.
Yes. It is challenging.
It's challenging. It's a film about a family that is struggling to hold it together, and at the center of it is Gena Rowlands' character, who has a whole number of kind of I guess you would say issues that they're struggling to work through. It's volcanic in the best sense of the word, but there's also a number of great Cassavetes collaborations that you could check out.
She was in a lot of them.
Opening Night, Love Streams, Faces, all of these are great places to look. If you're looking for a deeper cut, I would really recommend Love Streams, which is a later work of the two of them, but it's one that is very moving and very strange, and she's great in it, naturally. We also have Alain Delon, who is a titan of French cinema. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
And his death is pretty major. Kind of, it feels like an endpoint to a lot of that kind of era. We lost Jean-Luc Godard recently, and I feel like losing Alain Delon is a similar kind of massive kind of end point to a certain era of cinema.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the last one of the like cool actors.
Yeah,
it's
the
that kind of,
French
like,
mega cool kind of new
Yeah.
wave. He was a major kind of instrumental part of the French new wave. He was also known for being just insanely beautiful, a very handsome
Yeah.
actor. There's no, there's no denying that. There's a great number of amazing films that he's been in. Les Samouraï is a great film.
Swimming pool.
And that is probably the pinnacle of Alain Delon cool.
Yeah, La Samurai is definitely the one.
Yeah.
It's definitely, that's in my letterbox.
Top four.
four,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a pretty special film. There's also, he was in films like La Piscine, which is the swimming pool. He had a supporting role in Visconti's The Leopard, which I still think about all the time. Incredible film. A film that I would recommend that people seek out. One of his earlier films is Rocco and His Brothers,
That's
which is
great.
unbelievable and a precursor to something like The Godfather. It's a big sweeping Italian tragedy about three brothers. I think it's three brothers.
Yeah.
And post-war Italy, who kind of come to ruin, and it's a very, very powerful film. One of my favorites. And Alain Delon, you can see the beginnings of a massive career in cinema.
Yeah.
Two stars who I would suggest, if you haven't made a start on their work, go and check it out. You will be rewarded immensely. And talking a little bit more local, now we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the elements of the New Zealand cinema distribution area, which is obviously something you're very familiar with.
Sure.
So do you want to start by telling us a little bit about what your day-to-day, what your role kind of entails?
Oh my gosh.
And
I guess my role has two sort of distinct facets. One is taking films that Madman has on its slate and selling them into cinemas, convincing exhibitors to show our films. But then the more exciting part is actually being sent scripts and attaching to them and getting, getting them financed and developing the scripts and giving notes and on edits and basically seeing the film into completion.
very cool. And so, what would you how's this year been in terms of cinema releases for Madman?
It's been pretty busy, actually.
It has, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what have we had? We had Perfect Days and Priscilla and The Mountain at the start.
All three seem like they were quite big, bright spots at the beginning of the year. I know there was a
Yeah.
lot of discussion around all three of those films.
Yeah. I think with a local film, there's just so much more work. Because you're not being handed, posters and trailers
kits.
and everything. You just have to create all of that. So doing something like The Mountain and We Were Dangerous, that comes out today.
Great film.
These are films that take a lot of effort.
Yeah, right. And so, what is your read of what's happening in terms of cinema distribution in New Zealand? Is it a boom time for New Zealand cinema?
For local cinema?
I guess in terms of like people going to the cinema, but also in terms of what's being distributed to them.
I mean, it's tricky. I think at the moment it's a little fallow, but the film festival's on, so that obviously keeps things going. The last school holidays was huge with Inside Out and Despicable Me. And then we're coming into like another huge couple of months at the end of the year. The November-December run will be massive.
Is there anything that has surprised you this year in terms of how successful it's been?
I wouldn't say surprise me. Like maybe just how large that run in the last school holidays was. It was pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They're usually like the odd film that will surprise you, but I don't think there's any like general sense of surprise. I think maybe the way that the local films have performed has been a little disappointing. I mean, they've all kind of not performed to what we would have thought. You know, going back to like Uproar as well, like Uproar, Convert, Mountain, even Kafaifa, if that's a good result, but probably not what we would have expected like a couple of years ago, maybe.
Right. And not all of those are Madmen. Are they all Madmen?
No, not all Madman.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what do you think needs to be done in order to draw people to these New Zealand films again?
That's a tricky question.
Yeah, that's too early in the day
Yeah.
to delve too deep into that.
Yeah. I don't necessarily have an answer for that, to be honest.
Do you see this kind of turning away from cinema to streaming? Do you still think that's relevant?
To a point. Definitely, I mean, definitely with like something like documentaries.
Yeah.
During COVID, obviously everything went to streaming. And for documentaries, people are just used to seeing documentaries on streaming platforms now, so getting them across theatrically is just way more difficult.
Sure. So what's Madman's strategy in terms of looking for items, projects to put your kind of strength behind, push out into the world, both international and local? And what kind of things are you looking for?
Jeez. I mean, I don't necessarily think we have an eye on any sort of specific genre. We're just after like just really quality pieces of cinema.
Well, I think it really, for Madman specifically, I think there is this association with the company with a certain level of kind of independent quality. I mean, it seems like you guys make very educated and savvy decisions around which films to include in your roster. And that includes local film, but it also talks to the fact that you guys have Megalopolis, you have The Substance,
Yeah.
Other great international films.
Yeah.
Is it literally just luck of the draw, or is it?
No, not at all. I mean, we make a concerted effort to go after films like that.
Right, so you're watching like how people are responding to it and that kind of thing.
I don't know if necessarily we're looking at like responses. I mean, we pick up something like, I think we picked up like Substance and Megalopolis and like at Cannes, probably before they were shown.
Right.
I think it's just a case of like being able to identify quality projects.
Yeah.
So,
Would you say that you're filmmaker focused? Would you say like that's
definitely. I mean, especially with the local projects.
right.
Yeah.
Choosing the right filmmakers to
Absolutely.
get
I mean,
behind?
I think most of it is looking at people that you want to work with. I mean, the script has to be good,
Sure.
but I'm not just going to work with any old person,
Well, I think We Were Dangerous is a really good example of this in a sense. I mean, you have Josephine Stewart Few,
And she's great.
wonderful director, one of our most promising kind of emerging filmmakers.
Yeah.
Before we move on, do you want to tell us a little bit about how that relationship came to be?
Well, the relationship there was we have a co-distribution deal with Picky, and Picky had identified that project.
Fantastic.
So we had very, like, as opposed to like most other projects we had a little to do with the actual identification of that one.
Right.
That was Carthew and Morgan.
But you guys are pushing it out now, and it seems like there's a good amount of buzz around it. I mean, I saw it and I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah.
And people are responding to it really positively.
Yeah, really promising stuff.
Yeah.
So now we're going to be talking about what's coming up in the world of streaming. There's a whole lot of films dropping in September and TV shows, some of which just recently had a bow at the New Zealand International Film Festival. The one I'm I really want to talk to you about is The Beast, or La Bête, from Bertrand Bonello, very cool French filmmaker. I think he's French. He made a film called Nocturama, which is a wonderful, wonderful film. And this is his new film. It's probably, I think you could probably characterize it as his most ambitious film. It is adapted from a Henry James short story called The Beast in the Jungle, and it is a very strange, ambitious, exciting, challenging science fiction film, starring Léa Seydoux, great actress. It is about a woman in the future who, in order to get a job, I believe, she signs up for this process where an AI system explores her past lives, and by encountering them, rids her of the accumulative trauma and pain of those times. Very heady concept. And so basically the film has these three different sections. There's one in the future where everything's kind of been rendered in this kind of muted fashion by AI, where most emotion has been drained from the world. And then there's a modern day section, or reasonably modern day. It's set in 2012, and it's about a woman who is kind of entering in Hollywood, and encounters this kind of Aaron Rodgers style incel character. And then there is a sequence, something like 100 years before that, which is probably a lot closer to what the Henry James short story, which I haven't read, is talking about, where it's set in this kind of very well-to-do, high upper-class party, and all of them center around this connection that is formed between Léa Seydoux and the object of her affections, who's played by George Mackay of 1917. And the relationship that they form in each of the three segments is different from the one that came before, but they're all fascinating. It's a really kaleidoscopic film. It has a whole lot of twists and turns. I think probably the most effective sequence is the modern day sequence, which draws on kind of our understanding of the modern day incel. And it turns into this kind of very frightening, thrillery, paranoid kind of sequence. Léa Seydoux is doing work in this film that is absolutely astonishing. She is totally magnetic. One of her best performances, which I think is saying a lot, because she has she has a great body of work.
She really doesn't, even if she's in a kind of average film, she
doesn't
always
miss.
stands out.
Yeah, she doesn't miss. And so this is a really, really special film. I won't spoil too much more about what goes on in the film, but mostly because I don't actually know necessarily what happens. But it is worth seeking out anyway. Very, very cool film. Coming to Disney Plus, I imagine, is Agatha All Along, which is a TV series spin-off of WandaVision. Catherine Hahn, who played a character called Agatha in WandaVision, is getting her own show for some reason.
Okay, well, Catherine Hahn's great.
Catherine Hahn is excellent, and to be fair, she probably was a high point of WandaVision. Now, I am not a huge fan of these Disney Plus series in general. I don't think they have much going for them, especially these Marvel series. I mean, one of the big things I think is that they all just kind of vanish as soon as they appear.
Well, it's so tricky when you have to watch these series that they put in the middle of the films. Then it's just so much work.
It really backfired on them, and I think we've seen that the Marvel machine is backing off this kind of approach, because the quality of the output was not good, and it just leads to this general cheapening of the brand, I guess, if that's something that is important to you, I suppose. Listen, I'm not a huge fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe or the impacts it's had on the cinema world, but Oh man, if you even consider like the difference in quality from those early works, like something like a genuinely pretty good film, that first Captain America film,
Yeah, it's fine.
it's fun,
Yeah.
right? Which is all it needed to be,
Yeah.
compared to all this kind of slop that's being put out at the moment.
Yeah, this cycle's been depressing.
It's been hugely depressing, and whether or not Agatha All Along, which is about a witch coven, I believe, changes the game. I don't know if it will, but we'll see. That drops this month. Also, a spin-off from another superhero property is the Penguin from Matt Reeves' The Batman, which came out last year, which again had this kind of really respectable critical response, but I really just did nothing for me at all. And this is a spin-off of another breakout character, much like Catherine Hahn's character, Colin Farrell, and then a huge amount of makeup playing the Penguin. He's doing like this, like, hey, like this, like Italian American gangster character who feels like in the Batman movie, he feels like he's been dropped in from another movie. Now he is. Now there's a series about him, I suppose. It has a fair amount of buzz. Again, the original that Matt Reeves, the Batman, didn't. Yeah. It had all these markers and qualifiers of being like a more serious Nolan-esque Batman.
Yeah.
But I think it just didn't quite get there. It just felt a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
It didn't really... there was just something missing. There was some element of true excitement that, you know, even at their lowest moments, those Nolan films had back in the day.
I mean, to be honest, when I think of the Penguin, it's just Danny DeVito now.
Totally, 100%.
Yeah, that one was kind of interesting. Like,
Yeah.
it's out of the Burton ones, that one was dark.
Dark, man. We're talking about Burton a lot today.
Oh, we are.
I mean, yeah, that's what the Penguin should be, is this cartoonish, nightmarish kind of character, not like a terrible Tony Soprano ripoff. But nevertheless, that's what's coming up. I believe that's probably dropping on Neon. Now, there is a film that's coming out which was slated to come out in cinemas, but for whatever reason they've decided to pull it back and drop it in
Wolves.
cinemas, which is Wolves.
Yeah, right.
Which is a terrible title, but
It is.
nevertheless, it does have two of the biggest stars in the world, as George Clooney and Brad Pitt reuniting. Now, the last time they were together, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was probably the Ocean's films.
Yeah, would have been, right?
Which were huge box office juggernauts in their times. I think Brad Pitt and George Clooney, whatever you think of them, they are still big box office draws.
And they work well together.
They work very well together. And, you know, for example, Ticket to Paradise, George Clooney, that made a good, decent amount of money. The things that Brad Pitt has been in recently, they've made a decent amount of money. So it's a very puzzling choice to me to drop this on streaming on Apple TV without any kind of cinema run.
I mean, I don't know exactly, but it kind of seems like an Apple decision over a Universal decision.
Totally, absolutely. Whether that speaks to their lack of confidence in the project or whether they just really want to go all in on streaming.
I don't know. It seems like a decision that they'd make to bolster the service, really.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, that probably makes sense. I mean, it's a film about these two kind of cleaners. Think Harvey Keitel and Pulp Fiction, who are both sent to the same crime scene, which then turns into something that neither of them expected, I believe. And, you know, from the trailers, we've seen this kind of very charming interplay between the two of them. It's fun seeing them on screen together.
I really want to see this. When does it drop?
In late September. And it's going to be, on Apple TV+. It is... Yeah, it's just great to see these two very kind of Hollywood stalwarts bounce off each other. That's part of the reason why the Ocean's films are so enjoyable.
Yeah.
So, you know, why it's not in cinemas, who knows? But seek it out on streaming because I think it does look quite quality. And we also have on the Rialto channel exclusively premiering, we have the series The Passenger, which comes to us from Andrew Buchan, which a lot of people will probably know as the very nasty murderer from Broadchurch. He is an actor who is taking a turn in the writer's chair. This show is really cool and really exciting. It's a series that premiered on ITV in Britain, I believe, and it's kind of like a Fargo-esque story with a bit more of a science fiction twist. It starts with this kind of mysterious small town called Chattervale, and there's some sort of sinister Stranger Things-esque goings on, where someone may have brought some sort of creature or something into this town for reasons unknown. I've seen 3 episodes. I'm very excited to see the other 3. Sure. Let's watch a clip from The Passenger.
I just need to find Kay. It's dark. It's freezing, and wherever she is, she needs someone.
What would you know about this town? You've been here 10 minutes.
Sometimes, before we go on our next journey, we've got to work through stuff.
I mean, they reckon that parts of London might be underwater by the end of the century.
Fine by me.
Have you ever been to London, Nish?
Why would I spend half a day on a train to see a bunch of people I don't even know?
I definitely think Ria's trying to escape something. She absolutely is not where she thought she would be at 40 years old. She left her townhouse in Wandsworth in London with a big flying job to come to this small town, and I think she's not taken seriously at work. She's like, there's more to life, and she's not able to fully fulfill any of it. I mean, if it's not cat with a cough, it's missing bins.
What's wrong with missing bins?
There's nothing wrong with missing bins, it's just we've got missing girls. I just feel like it's me v them.
I thought I made it pretty clear, no more conspiracy crap.
Nish is an outsider. He's a brown boy in a town that's predominantly white, and a town that probably voted Leave. He's kind of coasting through life.
Ali, I would say, is someone that's quite keen on doing things by the book.
I watch like documentaries.
About what?
Like how to make yourself breathe like a fish, stuff like that.
But then with Ria, she sort of starts to realise that there is something bigger than that.
I was thinking about Ria. Maybe we should help her out. She really kind of ignites something in both of us.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, we don't want to go back to sort of pruning stags and clipping bushes.
Looks pressing.
Boss.
Wow, tasteful.
That's just BKB, boss.
Best kept village, boss.
I don't think that the Wells were ever happy families.
I wish she were dead.
When Eddie comes out of prison, it's really tips everything upside down for Joanne. It's affected her as a person, and it's affected her kids. She just wants to keep her head down, get on with it, and a lot of people judge her not in the best light.
Katie is in a lot of distress.
I feel like I need out.
She also has like a lot of aspirations with her career and things like that.
Honestly, I do think Lily probably does slightly disapprove of Katie. A lot of people in Chad are sort of trying to run away. She's very much trying to find her purpose.
Looked like he popped some muscle on in prison. I've always liked tramps.
Table's ready.
He's the village bad boy, if you will. He comes back into town with a lot of baggage. He's trying to pick up where he left off and try and bed back into, firstly, his family, his wife and his daughters, but ultimately he's trying to fit back into Chad.
Just stay home, keep out of everybody's way.
It's about people who are trapped in many ways. Some of them are happy to be trapped. I think there's a sense of protection. You know, you're in amongst the hills, it's cozy. And yet other individuals within the drama, they feel as if they need to escape, as if they need to kind of climb those mountains and fly.
I don't want to become that.
Become what?
You. It's not Dad I'm afraid of, Mum. It's you.
So it's a very, very cool show. It's you can see there are little pieces of other popular series. There's an element of Twin Peaks in there, some Stranger Things. There's a lot of Fargo, that kind of small town, bunch of different kind of kooky characters who kind of get drawn into this bigger, more kind of violent situation. It's got a great cast. I will point out that Wunmi Masako, who is the central figure, kind of a Marge Gunderson from Fargo kind of character.
Yeah.
And she is probably best known for playing a kind of side character in the Loki series. She showed up in Deadpool and Wolverine. She's very good in this. She's a really great anchor, but there's also some great work from this kind of central family, this Laura Palmer-esque Palmer family of this world. It's very atmospheric, it's very well shot, and it's very intriguing. The first episode, it does not go where you think it's going to go. I don't want to give too much away, but there's an ending moment where a character walks in that you do not expect to walk in, and it kind of changes the nature of the show. And it's really well worth seeking out. So that's all for today. Thank you so much, Lou, for being here with us. It has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I know you have a very busy day with the release of We Were Dangerous, so thank you for giving us your time.
Not a problem. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you so much, mate. See you next time.
Cheers.
Madman are very kindly offering up some tickets to give away. We have 2 double passes to The Substance, the excellent body horror from Coralie Fudgy, and also 2 double passes to Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. If you're anything like me, that is the must-see film of the year. How to get your hands on them, head to viewmagazine.co.nz and join in the fun. That's it for Point of View today. Thank you so much for listening. You can check out my weekly reviews. They're called Tom's Review at viewmagazine.co.nz. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Every month we're going to have a new guest here in the View Mag office. We will be announcing that very shortly, so look out for that. Next month we're going to be talking about films like Joker, Folie à Deux, A Mistake, the New Zealand film from Christine Jeffs, Super Slash Man, the Christopher Reeve story, the documentary about Christopher Reeve. There's a 4K restoration of Akira Kurosawa's masterpiece Seven Samurai, Venom: The Last Dance, a very, very good film called Last Summer, which was at the film festival last year, and a whole bunch of other things. So please tune in then. My name has been Tom Augustine. Thank you very much for joining me today.